People, places and things. Boats on the Nile. When the Greek historian Herodotus said Egypt is the gift of the Nile, he's generally thought to have been talking about the importance of the annual flood to Egyptian agriculture. I'd like to offer another view though, one supported by many of his other comments about Egypt. As well as its role in reviving the fields, the Nile also blessed Egypt with a unifying artery of transport and travel. Today the Nile is tamed by the Aswan High Dam. Rail, road and air routes link the north and the south. The Nile's main purpose looks to the visitor as a recreation ground on modern cruise ships or, as here, on a traditional dabaya. In the past though, boats on the Nile made it possible to transfer goods over great distance with relative ease. This stone carving, now in the Nubian Museum, is from the area submerged by the waters of Lake Nasser. It's thought to date to pre-dynastic or early dynastic times, that is around 3300 to 2800 BCE, around the time of the events that gave rise to the foundation myths of the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. The carving shows a vessel with a high prow and stern. It has 6 oars to propel it and a long steering oar aft. We don't see the crew except perhaps a representation of the steersman. The boat was the important thing. By the time of Khufu, perhaps 400 years later, the idea of Egypt as a unified kingdom, 1,000 kilometres from north to south, was a reality. This unification was only possible because of the boats on the Nile. As well as linking settlements, the Nile provided an artery for goods and raw materials. It runs parallel with the mineral resources of the Red Sea hills. Gold, silver, copper, tin and granite from the hills could be transported to the Nile and then shipped to where they were needed. And in some cases, vast quantities were transported by water. Although most of the stones of the Great Pyramid were quarried locally, for example, the granite for the burial chambers, 2,300 tons of stone, came from near Aswan, 800 kilometres south of the pyramid. This, though, is no transport barge. It was found in a pit next to Khufu's pyramid as a great flat-packed kit for a boat. Now reassembled, it demonstrates the skills of the Egyptians as constructors of rivercraft. This vessel, almost 44 metres long, was built 4,600 years ago. Just like the boat in the Nubian rock carving, it too has 6 oars for propulsion and a high prow and stern. It was built to carry the pharaoh with the sun god Ra across the heavens in the afterlife. So, even by the time of the 3rd dynasty, the importance of riverboats as a means of transport had become an important part of Egyptian cult. My final example comes from 2,300 years later, around 300 BCE. This carving is at Philae in the Temple of Isis. The cults of Isis and her husband Osiris, god of the underworld, have transport along the Nile at their heart. The body of the murdered Osiris is cast adrift on the Nile in his coffin. Following his final victory, he journeys on the great bark to land finally at Abydos, an act that was reenacted annually. This bark, the bark of Isis, played a central part in the rituals at the island temple at Philae. It's one of a number of carved representations there and shares with the earlier examples the same curved hull and elaborated stern and stem posts, here with representations of the goddess. There are many other representations of boats in Egyptian art, in models found in tombs and in paintings. But these 3 examples give an insight into the role of the Nile as a transport mechanism in Egyptian society. The importance of the Nile as a provider of agricultural plenty cannot be overemphasised, but we shouldn't forget its essential role as a highway for goods, people and ideas. If you want to follow up on more of these ideas and thoughts, these websites and references may help.